Donald Trump backing out of the debate is such cowardice. And it also, once again, shows that they are in panic mode. They are in complete panic mode. Okay, so let's get to it. We got some interesting news, some good news, some bad news. We got all the news that's fit to print. Barrack Michelle Obama endorsed Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee. Don't know why it took him this long. Kind of weird. They're going with the perfect campaigning line. That's not real. JD Vance is a creep who wants to ban abortion nationwide. JD Vance is weird. Voters know it. Vance is the most unpopular VP pick in decades. This week, wait, okay, that's actually kind of dope. Are they actually, is that real or is that fake? I hope it's real. Dude, okay, now I suspect there are motherfuckers who are listening, okay? I'm sorry. Maybe I'm crazy, but I do feel like on the messaging front, there's a lot of stuff that these guys are saying that I've been saying for some time. Hopefully they'll be able to listen to some of the other things in terms of the immigration policy and changing at least the messaging on both the immigration policy for the Sun Belt, at least for Arizona, New Mexico, younger voters, Hispanic voters, and also on Gaza. Staffers, if you're in here, okay, wink, wink, you know, analysts, if you're in here, wink, wink, nod, nod, little push here, little push there. Remember, Americans don't care about foreign policy. They don't. They're also very susceptible to changing their perceptions on certain issues as long as there is like enough campaigning on that front, enough messaging on that front. On immigration, Joe Biden performed better in 2020 when he was objectively anti-Trump immigration. He performs significantly worse now in 2024 before he dropped out on immigration because he went right-wing on the issue. These are good things to think about, okay? Remember, Donald Trump versus Joe Biden matchup in 2020 on immigration. Joe Biden was still trailing behind Donald Trump, but much closer to Donald Trump on immigration than he was by 2024. So please, also don't lean into the memes. The messaging on JD Vance being weird is good. Okay, that's good messaging. It's good because it basically cuts away at like the serious danger that they present, because Republicans love presenting themselves as a serious danger. Saying he's weird is good because he is weird. He's gross. He's icky. He gives people the ick. Keep calling him a weirdo. That's fine. Okay. Now give us Republicans some advice. Y'all are cooked. Okay. Immediately institute socialism. Just advocate for socialism. Y'all are cooked anyway. I do actually unironically give Republicans advice as well on here when I'm criticizing them. And then chatters will be like, why are you giving the Republican Party advice? They watch you. And it's like, I don't think they do. And even if they do, I don't think they can stop themselves. Yeah. Don't lean into the Brad and Coconut memes. Let that shit happen organically. Don't do it. Don't hyper focus on celebrity endorsements. Nobody cares. Do the regular job. Do your job. You're a political campaign. You are not selling albums. Okay. You're a political campaign. Get some goddamn door knockers on board. Get some real momentum. This is no longer the 2016 campaign. This is no longer the 2020 campaign. This is the 2008 election. Okay. Obviously, the dynamic is very different. There isn't like a tremendous amount of hatred for the Republican Party due to the fact that for 8 years there was for 8 years there was like a shit ton of war on terror nonsense, plus the economic downturn, the collapse of the global economy. That kind of stuff doesn't exist here, and it's not like a two-term Republican that fucked everything up. Having said that, however, in terms of Kamala Harris's qualities, she's younger, dynamic, could and looks significantly younger as a consequence of who she replaced, Joe Biden. She also reads young. That's a big benefit. Despite being 59, she looks like she's 40. She's hot. You know what I mean? Like, these things matter. People like that shit. Okay? People like that shit. That's important. Like, it's not, I'm not, guys, come on. Aesthetics are very important for a political campaign. Okay? They matter a lot. People make decisions. People make decisions like this on those boundaries 100%. So, like I was saying, the demographics that you can captivate from here on out are going to be Obama-based demographics. Go for the youth vote, but you have to change course on some of this stuff, okay? Anyway, but let's get to Obama's anyway.
Race for the White House. Vice President Kamala Harris picking up a big endorsement from former President Barack Obama and Michelle Obama as she goes on a campaign blitz. 4 states in just 4 days. Our senior White House correspondent Selena Wang is tracking the latest.
If you call her Blasian, I'm reporting you. Why would I would never say that. Like, now you put that thought into the minds of at least 30,000 people. You did that. Are you happy?
Good morning, Selena.
Good morning, Rebecca. Vice President Kamala Harris is racing to rally support across the country. With the election now just 100 days away, she is aggressively going after Donald Trump and hitting that campaign trail. Hi.
Hey there.
This morning.
I don't understand the change in narrative on Gaza advice. Are we asking her to bluff voters with sweet talking while still sending the votes? I think, I mean, I'm of two different minds here in terms of like what she needs to do in order for me to be committed or for me to be excited about her prospects. She does need to change course on Gaza. I don't know how much she can do when Joe Biden is the president and you can't deviate away from this like arrogant, entitled man who probably thinks like the world owes him whatever the he wants and is one of the most arrogant, entitled Zionists out there. Okay. The only thing she can do as Joe Biden's vice president while simultaneously running for president is basically messaging. On that front, she needs to deviate and maybe even try to make sure that Joe Biden doesn't fuck up the bag too much. Okay. Any chance of Felix coming on today to talk about the JD Vance Freak Show? Why would I invite Felix to come back on after he was on Wednesday? That's crazy. Bro, Biden's stance on Gaza is not an outlier. Get real. Wait, what? I love that you are hitting both angles here. Like, are you actually riding with the Democrats now? Does endorsing genocide matter? Bro, Biden's stance on Gaza is not an outlier. Get real. Biden's stance on Gaza is demonstrably unpopular. You are delusional. If we're talking about the voter base, Biden is literally less popular than Trump on Gaza. One of the many benefits of not being president while Gaza is happening. But still, what are you saying right now? The notion that, like, if you were to say people don't have Gaza as their top of mind issue, you would be correct. And I'm not making that argument at all. Okay? I am not making that argument at all. But Biden is an outlier on Gaza. Biden's dick riding of Israel on Gaza is literally an outlier in the Democratic Party, and it's certainly an outlier in the broader electorate. It is not represented by most people. The notion that he just keeps saying like, oh yeah, there's going to be a 2-state, but also like it's Hamas. Hamas is responsible for everything. It's Hamas, blah, 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 blah. Like consistently lying at the behest of Israel. Okay. Consistently lying at the behest of Israel is 100% at this stage, especially 9 months in, 10 months in, is an outlier. Okay. It's a stance for the military industrial complex. Sure, maybe it's not an outlier in the DMV. Nova voters, okay? People that work at Lockheed Martin, Raytheon executives, they love that shit, okay? They're lining their goddamn pockets. They don't have an issue with that take. Obviously, like rabid ultra-Zionists in general, despite not voting for Biden, and they will never vote for Biden, they agree with Biden on this issue. They will never vote for Biden. If you're trying to captivate the Texas mega church voters, okay, then yeah, you're online. You're on board with their insane bloodlust, right? But as far as the broader electorate goes, how many polls do you need to see? How many polls do you need to see that shows that like Americans are fed up with the way things are going? Kamala is anti-Hamas, not pro-Israel or pro-Palestine, is good. Wait, what? No, that's not. Dude, Hamas should not be a word that comes out of the mouths of any Democrats going forward from this point on, okay? It's just not it is just totally bad optics, okay? There's no reason to consistently talk like you are on the side of what Americans consider to be a terror group. Okay. Like, I'm not saying this as my own personal convictions, because Hamas and all matter of Palestinian resistance right now is on a defensive posture against a genocide. And therefore, I do believe that they are on the right side, regardless of their domestic affairs, regardless of their overall worldview. They are currently engaging in an internationally lawful act in terms of defending these occupied territories from a belligerent occupier. Okay. That's not just my assessment of the situation. That is backed up by international law. Having said that, however, obviously, if you're running for the American presidency, you're not going to run around and be like, I love Hamas. Hamas is doing that. You're not going to say any of those things. But you shouldn't be talking about Hamas at all. Okay? You shouldn't, because it's a losing position. Don't associate Palestinian death and destruction with Hamas at all. One, because Israel is doing all of the death and destruction. It's not Hamas that's doing the death and destruction. And any invocation of Hamas, anytime you mention Hamas, you're just coming at this situation from a losing position when it's objectively unpopular. What Israel's doing is objectively unpopular. There is a partisan battle that you can fight in American domestic politics in terms of unconditional loyalty and support to Israel. Just put this stink on the Republicans. Put the stink directly on Republicans. Be like, I've told you the method, okay? I told you the winning strategy. And even my girl Nancy Pelosi is kind of hitting this, okay? The winning strategy in this circumstance would literally to go, Benjamin Netanyahu seemingly is more popular in the American Republican Party than he is in the international community, where he is a war criminal with a warrant application out for his arrest. He is seemingly more popular in the American Republican Party than he is in Israel, in his own Knesset. Like, there's only one group of people propping this motherfucker up, and it's the Republicans. Just say that. Okay? So that's it. And that's true. Benjamin Netanyahu is objectively more popular with American Republicans, American Republican politicians, than he is in his own country. Like, what are we doing here? Yeah, it's also obvious that he wants Trump to win. Okay? He wants Trump to win. So, like, any kind of mention as to like Bibi Netanyahu on like positive terms, or anything that like helps Benjamin Netanyahu look good and look like a decent foreign leader, is just hurting you. Like, Benjamin Netanyahu literally went to Mar-a-Lago to suck his cock. Okay, come on now, are we for real? Be for real, dude. He's wearing a total victory hat. He brought up total victory on the congressional speech. Get out of here. Democrats cannot stand idly by and let this shit fly, dude, even on partisan grounds. Also, there's some good news on the Israel front. UK drops opposition to the International Criminal Court warrant for Netanyahu. I apologize to the labor. I apologize to Keir Starmer, more like Keir Stalin. I said a lot of disrespectful things about him. I didn't know what kind of game he was playing out there. Okay, things are kind of shifting in a decent direction. It is largely a consequence of the unimaginable amounts of pressure that has kept up since October 7. Okay, so never forget, pressure from the public, pressure from international organs of justice. Things are shifting. Okay, so I'm still holding out hope on Keir Starmer being. I don't think he's going to be like a legendary leftist or anything, but
Vice President Kamala Harris getting a major endorsement and revving up.
Why don't you put pressure on Hamas to end the war and surrender? I don't know, dog. Do you think I have a line? Do you think I can talk to Yahya Sinwar, number one? And number two, they have already brought up ceasefire negotiations a million times over. This is such an idiotic question to ask, and it's not a serious question. It's like objectively unserious, considering that there have been 39 instances where Hamas has brought forward multiple different ceasefire proposals, and Israel's the one who's consistently saying no to that. Okay? At this point, the entire global community wants a ceasefire. Kamala Harris reiterated that position as well earlier yesterday. The current 3 stage three-phase ceasefire negotiation, permanent ceasefire and permanent cessation of hostilities negotiation is a carbon copy of the Hamas proposal that was delivered in February. So the reality is that one side is trying to get a ceasefire deal. The other side is saying, no, I want to keep doing this war, partially because there's a lot of appetite for death and destruction in Israel. Okay. There's broad majority support for that sort of thing. Benjamin Netanyahu also wants to continue the war because he doesn't want to go to jail, because the moment that the war ends, the war cabinet goes away, new government comes in. Benjamin Netanyahu's position is like not as strong as it used to be. He most likely might not be able to put together a winning coalition. And if he doesn't have a governing coalition, then all of his legal issues come back to the forefront, considering that he's an unimaginably unpopular singular being, despite the fact that Israelis kept voting for him over and over again for 30 years at this point. You know, he has a personal ambition and personal motivation for continuing waging war and murdering as many Palestinian children as possible. So, yeah, a lot of commonalities with Donald Trump, by the way, which is another angle. It's just so stupid. So there you go. Hopefully that's understandable for you. Hopefully you understand where I'm coming from. The only thing voters agree on are a ceasefire. Actually putting pressure on stopping weapons for Israel is a different thing than the broader public. Sure. Let's continue.
Up her campaign.
We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
The former president and first lady, Barrack and Michelle Obama, throwing their seismic weight behind Harris as she finishes her first week as a presidential candidate, hitting 4 states in 4 days.
Bring it on.
They're late to the game, later than I am 15 minutes into the top of the hour when I serve you a 3-minute ad break. You know what I'm saying? Because at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. Sometimes I serve it 15 minutes in because I'm late to the game, right? They couldn't even get an Obama FaceTime. Guess the signal from the yacht was that bad. Yeah. Yeah, that's wild. Okay. Here's a 3-minute ad break. Now, by the way, you can also get gifted a sub if you're lucky. If you're lucky, you can get gifted a sub and avoid seeing the ads that way. Here's a 3-minute ad break now.
Bring it on.
And sharpening her attacks on Trump as an enemy of the middle class.
Donald Trump and his extreme allies want to take our nation back to failed trickle-down economic policies, back to union busting, back to tax breaks for billionaires.
Overnight, Harris rallying one of the nation's largest teachers' unions in Houston, Texas.
We want to ban assault weapons, and they want to ban books. We choose freedom.
The vice
That's
president
great.
dropping her first.
We want to ban assault weapons. They want to ban books. Good line. It's a good line. It's good. Smart. It's easy to comprehend. It's easy to understand. It's a good line.
Campaign ad featuring Beyonce's song Freedom.
The freedom not just to get by, but get ahead.
Harris says she's ready to debate.
I think also angling, like, I've always been a fan of angling the sentiment on like economic, like progressive economic policies, like leftist economic populism, angling it on things that Americans respond positively to, like freedom, is not necessarily a bad thing. I think that is a good thing as well, because what is freedom if you have no freedom to change jobs because you're terrified that you're going to lose your health care? You know what I mean? Like a lot of misdirection and misinformation in terms of socialism has existed in American discourse for almost a century at this point. About like how it's a collectivism. Socialism is about collectivism. It's about everyone collectively being poor. And it's like, no, it's actually about individual freedoms. Okay. Any kind of socialization initiative is done at the behest of opening up more individual freedoms. And I do think that that is like a good way. That is definitely a good way to angle that as well. Bad line. Assault weapons are awesome. I mean, I agree. Okay. As an assault weapons enjoyer myself, as an assault weapons enjoyer myself, I do consider them to be fun, but I also do think that they should absolutely be severely restricted. Okay, severely. severely.
Donald Trump.
I think the voters deserve to see the split screen that exists in this race on a debate stage, and so I'm ready. Let's go.
But Trump now backtracking on his pledge to face off on stage, his campaign saying it would be inappropriate to schedule things with Harris because Democrats very well could still change their minds. Harris quickly pitting Trump's words against him, asking what happened to any time, any place when the nominee was President Joe Biden. And this morning, previous comments from Trump.
Yeah, Biden, not Biden, sorry. Donald Trump backing out of the debate is such cowardice. And it also, once again, shows that they are in panic mode. Okay? They are in complete panic mode. I'm telling you right now, it makes them look weak because, like, you could do that. You could do that in the Republican Party primaries because you were ripping, right? Like, there was no one that was coming near you and presenting yourself in front of these people who might actually be able to show up and say that you were responsible for the electoral defeats in 2022 to the broader Republican primary voters. Probably would have made you look a little bad. I wanted Donald Trump to debate because he's pretty good at stuff like that. Normally, he's lost a little bit of his riz, I would say. But having said that, the fact that he was like, I'm down to do a debate, and then he was like, actually, just kidding, I don't want to do a debate with a new candidate, with a candidate like Kamala Harris, who you're talking shit about, saying she's dumb. Okay. What? Aw, why'd you ban that guy? That was impressive, the amount of swear words he put into one text. But yeah, I think that they are so like they're just in a state of such panic that, like, they don't know what to do. This isn't a strategic decision. This is a petty tantrum at losing their favorite punching bag. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if she's a DEI hire who's dumb as a rock, who only got to her position by, like, having sex with people in power, then you should make short work of her. Like, you can't be the god of discourse. You can't be the god of debates. You can't be this, like, charismatic, telegenic figure who's running away from debates. This isn't the primaries where you're literally putting up LeBron numbers over and over again. You're actually going up against a pretty close opponent who is, right out of the gates caught up to your performance thus far, caught up to your polling numbers pretty quickly. Kamala Harris has already pledged to sign the PRO Act, by the way. That's pretty good. That's why Mark Kelly, that bitch who literally neutered the PRO Act, like who defeated the PRO Act inside the Democratic caucus, came out and was like, oh, just kidding, I would sign the PRO Act, actually. Piece of shit. A little too late for that, don't you think? F you, Mark Kelly. I am not excited at the prospect of a Josh Shapiro or a Mark Kelly VP pick. I do not like it at all. I think it's absolutely awful. A lot of people are talking about how much they like him, okay? And I don't appreciate it. I don't like it. It would be a bad idea. We'll talk about the Reid Hoffman stuff too. Like, there's definitely donor pressure on Kamala Harris changing course on certain things, including taking out FTC's Lena Khan. All right, let's continue.
Trump's vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance, first reported by ABC, calling for people without children to be taxed more.
We need to reward the things that we think are good and punish the things that we think are bad. So you talk about tax policy. Let's tax the things that are bad and not tax the things that are good. If you're making $100,000, $400,000 a year, and you've got 3 kids, you should pay a different, lower tax rate than if you're making the same amount of money and you don't have any kids. It's
boo, boring, too technocratic. You're boring. You got no riz. You suck. This is such a holy gift from Donald Trump Jr. to the Democratic Party. Okay. He is so lib-coded. Like, what are you, Elizabeth Warren? What the do you mean? Oh, we need to use our tax structure to incentivize people. Like, that's not what gets good play in the Republican Party, dumbass. Like, he's trying to advocate for ease for parents in America without actually saying expanding child tax credits, because that will be associated with Biden. That will be associated with Kamala Harris, because that's what Kamala Harris is running on, an objectively popular economic populist agenda. okay? A leftist policy, okay? A progressive policy. I want to say leftist. So JD can't say that. So he's just like, oh, well, what we should do is like offer tax incentives to parents and make it so that we're taxing people who don't have children higher. And it's just like, no, it's too boring. It's not easy to comprehend. It's like an Elizabeth Warren style policy with, a right-wing Elizabeth Warren ass approach to otherwise like super easy to understand policy making from the Democrats for once.
It's that simple.
The comments resurfaced after a clip of Vance questioning the leadership abilities of people without kids was already getting blowback.
He's doing what you always say you'd be able to do in pretending to be a really good Republican politician, except he's really bad at it. Yeah, I mean, he is. His instincts are bad. He's got no riz. He is a charisma suck. He is deeply unpopular. And he is deeply unpopular in his own goddamn state. People that know him hate him. I told you that was the case. And here it is. There's actual data for it beyond my data points of the fact that Donald Trump chose a guy who was less popular in the state of Ohio, a deep red state already at this point, that gives him no benefit to the election at all. Okay? This like childless cat lady narrative paired up with the DEI shit is going to rip, okay? It is already ripping. It is already ripping. As I talked to Ested yesterday, remember, like black people in general, brown people in general, like they know what DEI pick means, especially black people. They know what that means, okay? They hear that every time. They're going to be like, even if they were down to vote for Donald Trump's charisma and Donald Trump's like macho image is not going to be good enough to overcome the steady flow of racist sentiment that they hear on a daily basis being reiterated from those in positions of power that they could potentially vote for. Okay?
We're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made. And so they want to make the rest of the country miserable.
This is so good. It's so awesome watching these dipshits do podcast their talking points and then like running for president, running for vice president, thinking that this gets good play for the broad majority of the public. Attacking step and adoptive parents is actually insane. Combine that with opposing IVF and they're going to lose like even conservative leading people. These are some of the most personal decisions that people make. I know. It's so funny that Donald Trump literally recognizes how much of an electoral poison that is, that he immediately was like, whoa, we're not banning IVF. What the fuck are you guys talking about? Whoa, what do you mean? No, we're not touching IVF. Get the fuck out of here. And then like the Southern Congregation of Baptist churches got together and they were like, no, actually, we do want to ban IVF. What are you guys doing? And then he went and listened to his dumbass son, Don Jr., on who to pick for his VP and went with this guy, a guy who has been incredibly much more restrictive than Donald Trump has been on abortion publicly, okay, with the way he communicates. And also a guy who's gone above and beyond further than that, constantly talking about like women should be having babies. They're broodmares. Like, come on, what are we doing? They're baby incubators. They're baby incubators. They're baby incubators. If you don't have a baby as a woman, what the fuck are you doing? Americans don't like that shit, okay? Even women that want to have children are going to be like, okay, bro, chill the fuck out. Like, what are you talking about? What do you got, a breeding fetish? What the hell is this shit?
To. And it's just a basic fact. You look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children.
Actress.
Now, when he turns around and apologizes for this, which he will, okay, and I believe he has already like tried to like re-message this point. If he apologizes for it, then he's weak. He's already wishy-washy. He called Trump Hitler. Now he's Trump's VP and loves Trump. People already don't think that he's a genuine person. And now here's another major policy prescription that he had that he has to go back on. If he doubles down, he looks like a complete psychopath. If he actually apologizes, he looks like a spineless little loser. So ultimately, he is f***ed. And this is precisely one of the reasons as to why I said he was a weak ass candidate from the jump.
Jennifer Aniston sharing Vance's comments with her 44 million Instagram followers, writing, "I truly can't believe this is coming from a potential VP of the United States." And the former wife of Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, coming to her defense, noting that Harris co-parents their 2 children. Kirsten Emhoff writing, for over 10 years since Cole and Ella were teenagers, Kamala has been a co-parent with Doug and I. She is loving, nurturing, fiercely protective, and always present. I love our blended family and am grateful to.
The Republicans failing is literally a symptom of no longer having Mitch McConnell around. No, it's a more structural problem for the Republican Party. If you recall, I talked about this quite a bit leading up to the 2022 midterms and far beyond that. Republicans in the post Roe v. Wade world are now victims of their own success. Okay? This is a more holistic issue within the Republican Party. There is no way to message your way out of this in some respects. And Donald Trump might be one of the last people that at least like captivate certain aspects of the base before they completely have to change direction and maybe even suffer electoral defeats for like at least one generation before they get back into shape. Because either this country becomes total fascist, okay? And that could happen. This is what I've been saying since 2022. Either everyone becomes like the rabid Matt Walsh watchers that are just constantly thinking about like murdering trans people, assuming that there's a trans person in every corner and they're all pedophiles or whatever, or they are just so grossed out by that in the suburbs that they basically are just like, I don't want this, man. Like, I don't know what to do here. Like, I just don't. This is gross. This is loser shit. The problem that they have is that conservative media like Fox News and now YouTube influencers are the base of the party, and it creates incentives to be the most right-wing in order to get more views and clicks. They can't ride the tiger anymore to appeal to normies. Yeah. They are collapsing under the weight of their own success. Exactly. That is like, they are very successful in enacting their right-wing agenda at the state level, which is not democratic. Because at the state level, they're using redistricting to enforce their will. Okay, when they have no business having that much power at the state level. So they just utilize the state legislature to be like, we are focusing all of our efforts on, I don't know, this new bill that declares that in the state of Ohio, we are going to check your daughter to see if she has a pussy or a penis. Okay, they're doing penis inspection day and shit. Nobody asked for that. Okay, nobody except for like, I don't know, Matt Walsh watchers that don't even live in Ohio have asked for this. No one is like, oh, thank God. Okay, thank God that there's penis inspection day happening. So when they keep doing that, they keep getting into this like this feverish, hysterical cycle where they think like, oh, we are actually popular, right? We are actually very popular. See, we're enacting our agenda. So we are very popular. It's like, no, you're not, dumbass. You forgot that you have utilized the least democratic aspects of American governance to your advantage. You've utilized the court system and you've utilized state legislatures. You've completely sidestepped Congress. You are basically getting everything you want to get on these incredibly objectively unpopular or irrelevant policy agendas that are all hyper focused on culture war issues that appeal to like some of the weirdest, sweatiest losers that comes across as like genuinely off-putting, okay, to the broadest parts of the electorate. Okay, you never want to be the I'm gonna do children's genital inspection day party. You don't want to be that. Okay, this isn't to say that like the broadest majority of Americans aren't like somewhat transphobic. They are. Okay, it is obviously the normal position is that most people are just like, yeah, I don't really understand this trans shit. It's weird. It feels kind of gross to me. That is like what the average person's opinion is. And everyone knows this. All the trans people in this community know this. There's a reason why even trans people themselves oftentimes are very transphobic before they recognize that they are trans. Okay, because the reality of the matter is that gender, albeit a social construct, has been taught a certain way for generations to people. It's a very deeply personal aspect of our existence. And people think that, you know, there's only two genders. That's it. It's biology when it's not. It's obviously a social construct. But that's too educational. That like gets into like complex thinking that people don't want to contend with, especially if you're like 50 years old and all you knew was boy, girl, man, woman your whole life. So that paired up with the fact that like trans people are a genuinely tiny margin that is not broadly representative of anything in society makes them an easy target for the Republican Party. But one thing that people don't understand is, or one thing that people don't actually vibe with all that much is how much of a hyper focus there is on trans people in either direction. I've often urged the Democratic Party to also not run on like, we're pro-trans people only and that's it. We're going to keep refusing to give people health care, but you know, we're pro-trans. But if you're trans and you're homeless, then you can eat shit and die. Like, that's a terrible policy position. You've not only adopted an unpopular thing, but you're also simultaneously not pushing a broader message that could be captivating to larger subsects of society. Just be normal, right? Just be normal. And what I mean by that is, like, pro-trans positions should come along with an agenda that is objectively popular in the way that Bernie Sanders has done it always. You know what I mean? This is not about like identity. This is about class. This is about helping as many Americans as possible. And also, hey, you want health care? Okay, well, you can't be weird about trans people. That's it. They get to have health care too. Suck my dick. That's how you're supposed to sell this message. Now, on the other side, when Republicans are only talking about trans people, people are going to be like, dude, I can't buy eggs. Okay. What the are you talking about? Like children's penises? Like, why are you talking about this? You're gross. I don't want to think about this at all. Why are you constantly bringing this up? Shut the up. I can't buy shit. Okay. I want to be able to buy shit. My rent is too expensive, and all you're saying is how children are being mutilated. You're weird and gross, dude. Shut the up. That is the problem with the Republican Party. And if they constantly think about that and their brain is rotted and they're like, this is all we're doing, this is what we're going to give you, okay, then yeah, they become objectively weird and toxic and gross. And they're basically doing that not just for trans issues in general, which, by the way, plays really well to the base. Okay, that does. That's why when Trump talks about the trans stuff in his rallies, people go, yeah, he's doing it. He's doing the thing. He's talking about trans people and how much they suck. And it's like, okay, but that's just the rallies. You're not going to be able to captivate a broader subsect of the population by just simply hitting that line over and over again. Okay, I live in Ohio and I got to disagree. I literally can't go anywhere without someone bringing up trans kids. Yes, I'm not saying that the people aren't brain broken on this issue, but that's Ohio, big dog. Okay. It's already red as. Do you not get it? One thing that the Democratic Party did without even recognizing that they were doing this, or one thing that like liberals did in general leading up to 2016 was just be kind of annoying all the time about social justice shit. They were in the right morally, but Americans don't like that moralizing posture. Americans don't like getting chirped at all the time. I'm talking about people that just like, you know, people that are in your lives that you talk to on a daily basis who are like, I don't know what's going on with the world of politics. I don't care. Who gives a shit? Like those guys that end up going out and voting in the general election don't want to constantly hear about people chirping. Okay. And the Republicans are way more hysterical than the way that like the 2015, 2014, 2016 era social justice warriors were. They've never stopped chirping. Republicans have always chirped in the exact same way, but at least there was at least enough momentum to say these are all the SJWs that are doing this kind of thing. They love cancel culture. They love cancel culture narrative. That set in. Okay, that set in successfully. So we shouldn't chirp about immigration or healthcare or all either. No, dude, what are you talking about? I don't think we need to cede the trans issue. It's like we shouldn't cede immigration or crime. No. You're completely misunderstanding what I'm saying. I never said give up on trans rights or anything. What the do you mean? I just said putting something like healthcare in the forefront, putting something like the Kamala Harris campaign is doing right now, like that Joe Biden was doing, as a matter of fact, unsuccessfully because he's old, but like talking about kitchen table issues, talking about shit that affects the pocketbook. Okay. That is sound policy in general. And that's good politics. Okay. Stepping outside of the culture war narrative is a smart thing to do. That doesn't mean giving up on trans people. I never said that. Have the Dems actually put trans people on the forefront? No, they haven't. And I think that's somewhat of a good thing in general. They haven't. Hillary Clinton kind of did it a little bit because she was like genuinely more neoliberal than Joe Biden was, and which is surprising, I know, and genuinely more neoliberal than Kamala was. So I think Hillary Clinton kind of did that a little bit. And it's like, it's just ultimately you're not offering people anything. It's just, you're just basically saying, you're not even offering trans people anything, by the way. You're just saying, you're just like putting them in the forefront of the conversation and being like, see, these are our people. This is what we care about. And it's just like a little bit of lip service to trans people when like trans people do not make up a significant proportion of the voter base. Like, and all you've done now is just like, you didn't even put forward any sort of sound policy or anything like that. And all you've done is basically say like, oh yeah, this is what we're about and nothing else. I've always been of the mindset, and I used to say this about Bernie Sanders all the time too. It's like, bro, you want healthcare? You want Medicare for all? That's a good thing. Objectively popular policy, objectively good idea in general. Okay. Then yeah, everyone's going to get it. That's it. Medicare for all means Medicare for all. It means trans people get it too. That's it. Joe Biden didn't mention the word trans one time in the lead up to the 2020 election. Exactly. Dude, this why like I saw a video. I don't know where it was, but here, this is like, let me see if I can find it. There's a TikTok I saw where FaZe Banks was like around, I think he was like around Sneeko or something. And some guy comes up to him, okay, and he's like, yo, FaZe Banks, how many genders are there? Okay. And he's like, I don't know, dog. I don't give a shit. I'm about my money. Okay. And it's kind of like the Joe Biden moment where Joe Biden was like, at least 3. If you remember in 2019, that's what he said. And it's just that in and of itself is like, that's the best possible way to have this conversation. It's like, who gives a fuck, man? What are you talking about? He's like, I'm about my money. That's it. That's it. And that's like, I mean, come on, that's FaZe Banks. Like, that is the most like Ohio boy you can get in that circumstance. I don't know if I can find it. And then someone is like, oh, well, Sneeko said there's only 2 or whatever. And he's like, yeah, that's just weird stuff that he's always talking about. He literally was like, yeah, that's just, he's on a different planet with that shit. I don't care. Like, that's basically something like I think about quite a bit in terms of like how to deal with this kind of messaging where people are constantly like, dude, well, what about gender? What about gender? What about trans people? What about trans people? He's like, dude, what's wrong with you? You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? Like, are you okay? Why do you constantly think about this shit? Anyway, I can't find the clip right now, but I think that's like that kind of dismissal and calling Republicans weird is a pretty sound way to deal with a lot of this shit because they are weird. No, this is him responding to it. But here, I think this is the clip.
I don't know, man. Who gives a f? I talked to Sneeko over there. He told me there was 2. Hey, how many genders are there, by the way? Come on, bro. Yeah. Sneeko's on that time. All I know is how much bread I got in my bank account, and it's a lot. You can put me in a closet with the lights off and a blindfold on. I'm still ripping. Wait, FaZe Banks in the closet? That's funny. Hold up.
This guy's.
There you go. That's it. That's that. But like all jokes aside, that is like that is sound. Like to deal with this question is like very sound. It's just like, dude, what are you talking about? Talk about shit that actually matters. Okay. This doesn't mean that trans people don't matter. This doesn't mean that like all of the Republican legislation passed on that front is something that we should just cast aside or not fight back against. It's just that you're literally trying to bully people. Like putting this in terms that people understand is good. You're just trying to bully some of the most like some of the least protected people on the planet. And it's objectively odd that you're doing that. It's objectively weird that this occupies so much time in your mind, so much space in your mind. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, you mean what actually matters to the average person? Yes. And also, what matters to trans people too? It's not like trans people are magical deities, magical beings that are somehow outside of the sphere of the economy. When you talk about Medicare for all, or when you talk about education, when you talk about child tax rates, when you talk about this sort of shit, when you talk about labor protections, like that's trans people too. They're literally in the workforce. They're not like, I know that Republicans kind of run the table on like trans people being magical people that are just like the best athletes you've ever seen and are just like running around stealing awards from cis women or some shit. But like, that's not how that works. You know what I mean? They're just regular people that happen to be trans. That's it. You know what I mean? All right. But let's finish this off and then we'll continue with the JD Vance stuff.
To have her in it. Ella Emhoff adding, how can you be childless when you have cutie pie kids like Cole and I? I love my 3 parents.
And time is running out for Harris to pick a running mate. I'm told she's still considering a pool of about a dozen people. And on Monday, Governor Shapiro and Whitmer are both campaigning for Harris in battleground Pennsylvania. Both of them are considered possible running mates. Whit.
All eyes on that decision for sure. Selena Wang, thank you.
Just moments ago, Vice President Kamala Harris picked up the formal endorsement of former President Barack Obama and Michelle Obama as well. Here is the brand new video.
Kamala.
Hello. Hi.
Hey there.
Kamala.
Oh, hi, you're both together. Oh, it's good to hear you both.
I can't have this phone call without saying to my girl Kamala, I am proud of you. This is going to be historic.
We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
Oh, my goodness. Michelle, Barack, this means so much to me. I am looking forward to doing this with the two of you, Doug and I both, and getting out there, being on the road. But most of all, I just want to tell you the words you have spoken and the friendship that you have given over all these years mean more than I can express. So thank you both. It means so much. And we're going to have some fun with this too, aren't we?
So this is not unexpected, but could be a bit awkward for Donald Trump this morning. Overnight, his campaign said it would not commit to debating Harris, in part because she had not been endorsed by Obama. Well, now she has. With us now, CNN's senior White House correspondent, Kayla Tausche. Kayla, again, not unexpected.
Dude, it's so funny. Why can't they do a normal endorsement video instead of the cringe ass shit? That's fine. I don't give a shit. I think what matters is the endorsement coming in. That's what matters. And I do think that it's, again, a landmine that Trump stepped on again. If I'm Donald Trump, I'm so pissed. He just keeps constantly trying to, in a state of panic, like hit any angle he can. And he's like, yeah, the Democrats are so chaotic. See, Obama didn't even endorse Kamala. And then Obama endorsed Kamala, and he's like, back to square one. Okay? It's just legitimately, I've never seen, I don't know if this is kismet. I don't know if it's fate. I've never seen this much. Like, I've never seen things go so well for the Democrats in general and so poorly for the Republicans so far. Now, this doesn't mean that they're not going to be able to, like, figure out how to campaign. Because remember, Republicans have a history of winning with bad policies all the time, but I don't know where all of that political acumen went. I don't know if they just perished. Like, what happened? They have become the Chris Rufo party for some weird reason, constantly talking about like the epigenetic predisposition of the Latin Americans or something, or of how women have to give birth all the time, nonstop. That does not make a successful campaign. Okay, that does not make for a successful campaign. You cannot be the conceptual James party. You cannot be the Christopher Rufo party.
Unexpected, but kind of shows this tight rollout that Harris has had over the last, now, this is what, the 6th day?
Yes, John, highly choreographed, even though all of this came together in the 11th hour over just the...
Yeah, I mean, I guess like part of it is because Trump gutted the RNC and replaced them with loyalists, but they're still advisors. Okay, they're still, the advisors are still supposed to be there. Like, I don't know what's happening in the back office, but like they used to have a deep lineup of genuine vultures. Okay, they used to have a deep lineup of actual vultures, right? I don't know where they're at. Like, what happened? Where are they at? Because right now they are putting horrible numbers on the board. The entire family running the DNC right now, do you think they, or RNC right now, do you think they listen to anyone who doesn't agree with whatever they want to do? Like, I often talk about how Democrats are too cowardly and too consistently focus testing their narrative. And that shows that they have no backbone, right? But Republicans have too much backbone in the wrong direction at this point. And they're not doing enough focus testing to be like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be doing any of the things that we're doing right now. You know? Has the old Republican money divested from Trump? No. No, old Republican money still is very much on. Come on. I mean, Miriam Adelson is like, I will give you billions of dollars if you nuke Gaza and permanently annex West Bank and shit. Like, no, that's old money. That's old Republican money. Miriam is carrying the torch for Sheldon, right? Like, that's not, they still have the same investors. They still have the same donors. They're just picking up more donors from the VC side now. But the thing is, like, I guess you're right. Most of the Republican analysts that like gave them major victories are now considered to be rhinos and were run out of the party, and they just like sit on MSNBC and chirp about Trump all day. So I guess that's what they're doing. They're too predisposed with like shitting on Donald Trump. They're getting involved with more with money than people. Yeah.
Last week, this was a critical piece for Vice President Harris to get the endorsement from a party leader who still has influential sway across the entirety of the Democratic Party. It shouldn't be understated the fact that this came on several days after her candidacy became official, but also after the official process to clinch those delegates came through. Sources have said that the Obamas didn't want to be seen as anointing Vice President Harris or as seen as part of a coronation, in the words of one, choosing instead to wait until after some of those processes have played out. But certainly it is going to provide quite a bit more momentum for a campaign that has already seen quite a bit of that. $126 million raised as of Tuesday. The campaign has not provided an updated number, even though several days have followed that. And even though several major organizing calls have taken place, including one last night with white women, where 164,000 women participated in that. And Harris is going to be trying to use that momentum across the battlegrounds in the coming days. The campaign saying that just today it will be holding events in Michigan, North Carolina, Georgia, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, following on dozens of events taking place across other battleground states leading up to this point. Of course, the calendar is very crunched at this point. There are a lot of deadlines coming up in August alone. We have learned from sources that Vice President Harris and her team are expected to lock in a running mate by August 7th. That would be a process that would be just about 2 weeks from start to finish. August 1st is the earliest date that the Rules Committee has decided that early voting could begin. And then, of course, there is the convention, the 19th through the 22nd, less than a month away at this point. So certainly there is a lot to do in just the next few weeks, guys.
Yeah, not a lot of real estate left on that calendar. Kayla Tausche, great to have you on in the mornings. Thanks so much for being with us. Appreciate it. With us now, CNN political commentator Kristen Soltis Anderson and Democratic strategist Matt Bennett. Matt, the facts of this endorsement aside, this sort of caps this week, this remarkable now 6 days of a pretty tight rollout. How do you see it having played out?
I mean, there's no way it could have gone better. It was very clear that the vice president's team was ready. They didn't know if the president would step aside. They had no idea, and they didn't know when it would come. But the moment that it came, they just sprang into action and they rolled it out in unbelievably perfect way. They made all the calls they needed to make. They rounded up the endorsements they needed. They kind of closed off the field to others. And then they put her out on the road and captured this incredible wave of momentum that followed this, sigh of relief that the party was giving, that we now have a nominee that seems really capable of prosecuting the case against Trump. And I think what you're finding is that the Trump team is definitely not ready. I mean, they have these ridiculous lawsuits. They're now saying they're not going to debate her. They're on their heels and defensive about J.D. Vance and Project 2025. So things have gone really well so far.
We're going to get to the debate thing in just a moment. But Kristen, first to you, with the Obamas, is there anything unique politically about their endorsement? I don't think this was unexpected, but does this endorsement carry something special that others have not?
Well, I think, one, it was smart to actually delay it a few days. There was a little bit of online chatter. Why hasn't Obama endorsed? Why hasn't Obama endorsed? It's smart because it takes the story and it makes yet another day. It gets to stand on its own as a story. However, I do think that if Democrats think that they are going to recreate the Obama coalition this year, that is a bit of a big dream, but seems unlikely to me. Remember, Barack Obama won in part by being able to pull together this incredible coalition that included states like Iowa. Iowa voted for Barack Obama twice, and I'm not encouraging anyone to go bet a bunch of money, but I wouldn't go to Vegas right now and put a bunch of money on Kamala Harris winning Iowa in 2024. So, for some of these politicians like Barack Obama, who's very talented, the question is, how much does his coalition, can it be rebuilt in new, much more polarized times? And count me a little bit skeptical of that.
So Matt brought up the debates, and Kristen, I want to give this question to you because this has been such an unprecedented week. I've been surprised by a lot of things, big and small. One of the small things I've been surprised by is how much Republicans have focused on the process in the Democratic Party. And the debate's just one aspect of it. We have this release from the Trump campaign overnight backing off the debates, at least for now, that says, given the continued political chaos surrounding Cricket Joe Biden and the Democratic Party, the debates cannot be finalized until Democrats formally decide on their nominee. They go on to say there's a strong sense by many in the party, namely.
I know you constantly say debates don't matter, but isn't this one of the few cases where not debating does matter and can negatively affect Trump? Yes, absolutely. Debates don't matter in a situation where you've already campaigned. It's literally September. Normally, when do debates happen? They happen in the month of September. You've already basically maxed out on your name recognition, right? You have two candidates that are running against one another that everybody has kind of made up their minds on, right? In a situation like that, you've made up your mind on Hillary Clinton. You've made up your mind on Donald Trump, right? You think he's a outside of the box thinker. You think he's anti-establishment. Hillary Clinton's pro-establishment, yada, 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 right? But in a situation like this, debates do matter. This is a debate that does kind of matter because Kamala Harris is a last second swap out. People want to see how their candidate, people in the margins want to see, one, she still has a lot of name recognition to make up for, as she was the vice president and was notoriously put on, janitorial staff duty, right? When she was the VP. So she didn't get a lot of play in mainstream media. That is actually kind of beneficial for her in this situation because she didn't get a lot of avenues of attack beyond the fact that she's goofy and laughs a lot. Okay. So now that's actually playing a good role for Kamala to reinvent herself when she has a national podium, when she has all of the attention on her. Okay. You can deny debates. You can deny debates if you are already if you're in good standing, if you're if you've cleared the table, if you're oh yeah, I'm just going to win regardless. Who gives a f? Why would I give my opponent an opportunity to potentially get a couple sound bites off of me that will play well? But in this circumstance, because Kamala Harris is untested, okay, people will want to see her against Donald Trump. So in this situation, debates do matter a little bit more. Ultimately, door knocking is what matters. Good sound policy is what matters. That's how you win elections. It's not there's no world in which you just knock it out of the park in a debate and then, the tides of history change. The only time where debates have been relevant is when they did it in July or June, I guess at this point, super early, and 50 million people saw that the current president running for re-election was genuinely a carcass. He doesn't want to debate her because he doesn't want to give her another possible I'm speaking moment like she had with Pence. It's not even that. Not debating also makes Trump look weak. You just opened up a new line of attack. Oh, dude, you're panicking. You're scared. What happened? I thought Kamala Harris was goofy and stupid and only got to this position because she's dumb and slutty or whatever the Republican psychos are saying. What happened? It just looks bad. And I think part of the calculation here is that Trump could dagger Hillary Clinton because Hillary Clinton was not read as a woman, but instead read as this almost mythical being that was a perfect singular representation of establishment politics and 30 years of conspiracies that were associated with her last name and herself directly. Okay. She was more lizard than woman. So Trump could just dunk on her all day. But Trump doing that to Kamala Harris changes the dynamic a lot, as a matter of fact, because Kamala Harris is not like Hillary Clinton at all. She does not have any of the baggage that Hillary Clinton has. So in that situation, when Trump is like ripping into her, he's not just ripping into Kamala Harris. He's reminding people what his position is about black women. He's reminding people what his position is about all women in general. It can come across as off-putting. There's a push and pull with everything that you do in presidential campaigns. You might win more favors with some, non-college educated whites, men, non-college educated black voters that are men, non-college educated Hispanic voters that are men. But like the margins that you're going to get on that front will not make up for the losses that you also get, the losses that you also incur from the other side. You know what I mean? How do you think Kamala's tough on black people crime will do for Republican messaging? What do you mean tough on black people crime? What about the non-college educated Hasanabi heads? Well, the non-college educated Hasanabi heads, hopefully they got a good job, a good union job, because otherwise they're going to see a 3-minute ad break at the top of the hour. Okay, here's you saying the same thing 4 years ago.
Which you can do by subscribing.
Wait, I just ran the top of the hour ad break, dude. What the That's crazy that you just sent me that link right after. Bummer for you. He's just temporarily avoiding debate to discredit her as a legit candidate in the public eye, in my opinion. Yeah, I think it's not a good idea, though, because, again, it just shows weakness. Anyway, like I said, Hasanabi heads that are non-college educated, hopefully you guys got good union jobs so you can avoid seeing the ads at the top of the hour when I run the 3-minute ad break. And if you no longer want to see those ads, all you got to do is subscribe for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, or by getting gifted a sub. If you're lucky, here's a 3-minute ad break now.
Barack Hussein Obama, and then it goes on, ... They're not going to commit to debates just yet. Of course, Obama then this morning goes out and endorses. But Kristen, explain, what does Trump get out of this? What do they get something out of this process argument?
Well, it is not wrong to underscore how extremely unprecedented this is. I mean, Democratic voters did not get the opportunity to really have a meaningful primary. At the same time, though, the politics of this, I assume that what they're trying to do is divide a Democratic coalition that right now does not seem interested in being divided. Yeah. Democrats are pretty united around Harris. This week has been, again, very unprecedented in the extent to which they've closed ranks. I do think that
they're just so used to just making up false narratives that they're literally making up a false narrative about something that is like demonstrable and something that is like easily observable. Like the false narrative in this situation is like, oh man, the Democrats are surely in a state of panic with Kamala. And it's like anybody that pays even a little bit of attention to what's going on is like, no, they're not. Where's the chaos? They're literally doing victory laps right now. Like, what do you mean? Like you can do that about like immigrant panic or crime, things that are not like immediately observable because it requires you to look at like data to really parse through the situation, especially when the media is also interested for their own material benefit. If it bleeds, it leads, and run with that narrative over and over again. And you can, and if there's no one on the other side ideologically making a counter, okay? If there's no one on the other side making a counter to that and trying to explain what the reality is, like they can run the table with that line. They have basically 30 years of nonstop immigrant panic that they can rely on in terms of making this hysterical argument. You can't necessarily do that, though, for something as easily observable as like the Democratic Party not being in a state of panic and across the table, everyone is united behind this singular force now.
Republicans would be wise to have a message that's not about process, but is more about policy, to focus their message more on voters' discontentment with the economy, with immigration, with crime, with these issues where voters in polls that I see day in and day out tend to trust Republicans much more than Democrats. The Trump campaign would be much smarter to keep the focus on that versus trying to fight these process wars.
So, Matt, on that front, one of the things that we have begun to hear are these attacks on Vice President Harris as a liberal. Tom Kahn started it here, calling her a San Francisco liberal like 5 times in 7 minutes. And this morning, we are seeing for the first time this super PAC, which is now supporting Harris, saying they're coming out with an ad buy, some $50 million they're putting into this ad. I want to play a little bit of it.
She's the district attorney.
For the record, this person is like shitting on this Biden press release. Since last year, the value of her labor has increased by 7.3%, a gain outside of observed margin of error. Trump would roll back this historic win for workers dangerously. Harris press release. Look, these guys are all R-worded. Yeah, it's better. It is objectively a better way to campaign than this, especially when the economy is one of the aspects for the Democrats that is the weakest. Why would you post this as a criticism? Why would you post this as a criticism of Kamala Harris's campaign and what their strategy looks like when all you do with Biden was unpopular. First of all, Biden was already unpopular, and he was especially unpopular when it came to the economy. The truth of this does not change the reality. It's more that they're weird, and it's much better than insulting them with a slur. This is a lack of understanding, to be honest. Hey, exactly. And they are weird. For the record, they are still campaigning on labor gains anyway. It's not like they're not campaigning on that. I can't believe I'm the one saying this because I am the guy who just told you how important it is to talk about kitchen table issues. Okay? But calling the Republican Party weird is basically saying that all they want to talk about is shit that is not kitchen table issues. You're doing that right now.
Who protected children from sexual predators. She's the Attorney General who stood up to the big banks to protect homeowners.
Yeah, so those two things, I wanted to highlight that, Matt, because again, and you spent your career trying to kind of nudge the Democrats or keep them in the center here. How much does Harris have to worry about that, and does this ad get to it?
Well, look, the entire ballgame here is winning the center, and the Harris team absolutely knows that. This is going to be a sprint to the general election where most voters have made up their minds already. The undecided voters tend to be centrists and moderates and independents. Those are the people that are up for grabs, and those are the people she's got to get. So this is a really good ad to focus on her tough as nails history as a prosecutor. And she's got to make clear to people that that's who she is. It's a very different game than she was in 2020 in a field of 19 other candidates running for a Democratic nomination. This is completely different. And she's got 3.5 years in the White House, lots of experience to talk about what they have done together and what she wants to do going forward, making this about the future. And I think she has a real opportunity to do that.
Yeah,